This week we're talking about everybody's favorite subject, marketing. Maybe nobody's favorite subject. My name is Seth. I'm a full-time fantasy author. I've written 26 books. I've published most of them. I make these videos because there are a lot of authors out there who feel lost, and I don't want you to be one of them. Marketing is not actually everybody's favorite topic, especially authors. But once you have picked your avatar, once you have started writing your copy, the question remains, where do you actually find potential customers? Where do you find people to engage with? And so I want to talk about the three main ways that you do that: social media, advertising, and personal engagement. First, let's start with social media. Social media companies have made their business in connecting people who are not physically close to each other. And this is fantastic for us as authors because we can connect with readers all over the world. It used to be that if you were self-publishing a book, you had to literally find people to give it to. Now, the internet can make that much easier. However, it still comes with its own pitfalls. And probably the best way to think about social media is as a megaphone. It's something that you're just sort of shouting out into the ether. Unfortunately, everybody else is on their megaphones as well, creating this unbelievably confusing cacophony that really can drive people mad. And as authors, while we are tempted to just shut it down and say, you know what, I'm just not going to engage, we don't often have that luxury because social media is the best way to build an audience. Now, here's a controversial statement. Some social media platforms are terrible for building an audience. Other social media platforms are okay, but none of them are good. What do I mean by that? Well, if you get on Facebook, you can find a lot of groups of people who share common interests. And they'll often get together and they'll talk about those interests. And you can create an author group for people who are interested in your writing, and they can follow and you can talk with them about that. And often readers will congregate on places like Facebook. On the other hand, you have websites like Twitter. Twitter is where authors go to talk to other authors, which is fantastic. I really like the author community on Twitter, but guess what? There aren't a lot of readers there. And the readers who are there don't engage, and so as an author, it can feel a little bit like shouting into a void sometimes. In fact, in all the tests that I've run, Twitter has produced almost zero sales, where Facebook and Amazon have produced significant sales for me. You might have better luck on Twitter than I do, but I've found that it's just not a good place for connecting with readers. It's a great place for connecting with other authors, and the conversations can be fun, though there is a lot of drama. But compared to Facebook, which is sort of reader-centric, Twitter is a pretty terrible social media platform for marketing. Then there are new platforms like TikTok that I just avoid altogether. That doesn't mean you should avoid them, though. There are a lot of people who are doing really well on TikTok in short-form video selling their books. And I find that the kinds of books that are sold on TikTok are fairly specific, and the scale of sales is a little bit different than Amazon or Facebook or even Instagram. Instagram's another one of these social media sites where I'm not really sure how many readers are using it to buy books. There are a lot of authors and reviewers who are promoting book content, but sometimes social media has a problem where it just turns into a group of people who are promoting to each other, and because they're all engaging with each other, it feels like there's a lot of engagement, but no books are actually sold. And the point of marketing is to sell books. So different social media platforms are going to give you different mileage in terms of how well they perform on that specific metric of selling books. That brings us to advertising. Advertising is not for everybody. Frankly, a lot of new authors just don't have the capital in order to do it well. But if you have a few dollars a day that you can put towards advertising, I think it's a fantastic idea. You have to be very careful about this. And I need to stress that. You have to be very careful with this. As ad platforms like Facebook or Amazon are designed to take your money. They're not designed to necessarily give you results. Their interest is in you paying for advertising. And so they're going to do everything they can to keep you paying for advertising, which means you have to be very careful about how your ads are doing. You have to monitor them very closely, and you have to ensure that you are not spending more than you can afford. That said, there are a lot of different courses out there on advertising, specifically for books, on both Facebook and on Amazon. I've been having more luck with Amazon recently than Facebook, but these advertising platforms change fairly frequently, and so that might change tomorrow. And then the final thing that I want to talk about is building a community. This, I think, is probably the best way to market, but it requires considerable work. The first thing you have to do is you have to set up a funnel in order to get people's attention. I have a video on that specifically with a handy cheat sheet that you can download that I'll link in the description. But by gathering people together who are of like interest, specifically are interested in your book or the world that it's set in, you can create a community. And if you engage with that community well, you'll find that they all start inviting other people in. And you can generate considerable growth over time by doing that. Communities don't tend to get gigantic really fast, or if they do, they tend to fall apart. But if you can build a core fan base, you'll find that the growth is steady. And I think that brings up a really important mindset piece for marketing. We've all seen viral ads. We've all heard of overnight success. But believe me when I say that's not what you actually want. If you can extend your time horizon and you can say, you know what, I'm going to grow consistently over the next 10 years, then in 10 years, if you've been taking all of the steps you need to grow, you will have an unshakable foundation. If instead you have a viral hit and it explodes, you might find yourself without anything in a few years. Virality is great and all, but only if you can capitalize on it. And capitalizing on it is incredibly hard. So instead, your aim should be slow, consistent growth, adding a few readers at a time in a sustainable way. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know down below if you feel like there's anything I missed or if you have any questions about the stuff that I talked about.